G'day everyone. Welcome to the Blockmate webinar. My name is Domenic Carosa, CEO and President. With me today, I have Andrew Smith, who is the CEO of Hivello, and Justin Rosenberg, who's our non-executive director at Blockmate. What we'd like to do today is take you through a presentation. If you have any questions, there is a chat box or a Q&A box in Zoom, and you'll be able to ask your question and we'll do our best to answer it at the end. And without further ado, I will share this presentation. We will make this available post the webinar. And now is a good chance to go into it. And welcome to, I can see a number of familiar faces on the Q&A as well. So Blockmate, what is Blockmate and really what is our vision? The vision around the company is about building new companies, building our own organizations that really focus on and leverage the blockchain, partly focusing on the cryptocurrency marketplace, but it's broader than just cryptocurrency. It's a much broader, and we're going to talk more about that. And what we're going to do is effectively capitalize on the team's track record in the whole space, from Banksir, Unity, and Apollo Capital, and obviously leveraging the experience as well as assets that we all have access to. And what do we do and how do we do it? And we've really got a three-step process. So first of all, we really identify gaps in the marketplace in terms of opportunities where we can effectively start from scratch new companies that we will incubate where we see market opportunity. We will seed. Point number two is that we will seed those opportunities with the appropriate people, as well as the capital, up to a certain point where they're able to be self-sufficient and we're able to raise external capital specifically in those subsidiaries, which ultimately will minimize dilution for Blockmate. And then thirdly, at the appropriate point in time, is really providing and looking for liquidity events, either through a trade sale or some kind of listing of the businesses that we actually do create. And so ultimately, from a shareholder perspective, what Blockmate does is give investors access to the blockchain, companies within the blockchain that actually leverage the blockchain without them having to get involved and know what it is to be an angel investor. And this is just in my view, a better way of doing so. Where are we today? The company's just been rebranded and we've repositioned the company only in the last couple of weeks. We have 3 existing companies in the portfolio at various stages. I'll start with Midpoint. Some of you may recall that the original TSX company was called Midpoint, which we've just recently rebranded. And Midpoint is a payment infrastructure provider. And I'll talk more about that, providing peer-to-peer foreign exchange for high net worth investors and SMEs. And Hivello is a business that we've just launched earlier this year that is building on top of the Helium IoT, Internet of Things network. And we have Andrew, who's the co-founder and CEO, that will share more about Hivello in a moment. And that's really building an IoT infrastructure side of Blockmate. And then we have our Yield OTC Desk, which ultimately allows consumers, high net worth investors to take fiat money, US, Euro, Canadian, GBP dollars, and buy crypto and stake it and generate yield. And that's basically giving us access to blockchain related financial services. And we'll talk more about each of these in a bit more detail. Maybe at this point, I'd like to hand over across to Andrew, who will give us a bit of an overview with regards to Hivello. And maybe, Andrew, before you start, it may be opportune to just provide a 30-second overview in terms of your background in the space.
Thank you, Dom. Hi, everybody. My name's Andrew Smith. I'm the CEO and co-founder here at Hivello. My background is 15 years of building mobile and internet businesses, and the last 8 years I was the co-founder with Domenic for Banksa, which is the payment service provider for the crypto industry. So let me just take you through Hivello, which is our new startup. Thank you, Dom. So Hivello is building a new kind of wireless network. And this network provides coverage for the Internet of Things, or sometimes referred to as smart devices. And if you're not too familiar with smart devices or the Internet of Things, we're talking industrial, agricultural, smart city devices, so parcel trackers, water level sensors, air quality and pollution trackers, gas and electricity, smart meters. These are all smart devices which use the Internet of Things to provide coverage. What we do is we place hotspots with individuals and companies in order to grow the network coverage. And our technology is based on the Helium network, which Domenic mentioned. So next slide. So what is Helium, you might ask? So Helium is a new way of building physical infrastructure, but based on leveraging blockchain technology. Hivello generates Helium tokens for providing coverage and also for carrying the data traffic from the different devices connecting to this network. And as you can see, the network right now is over 800,000 hotspots. In fact, it's about 830,000 hotspots as of today. It's available in 58,000 cities in almost every country available on the planet. Next slide. So our business model is based on 3 distinct channels: B2C, B2B, and our partner program. With B2C customers, we provide all of the technology, all of the hotspots, the antennas, attachments, etc. We provide these for free to the customer, and we work on a revenue share basis with the individuals. For B2B, we look for large quantity deployments with cell phone tower operators, real estate investment trusts, etc. And we look to lock in long-term exclusive deals with these partners. And our third channel is our partner program, which incentivizes our existing customers for providing new customers to our service. And just the last slide, please, Dom. So currently we're active in 13 countries and we're expanding our footprint in Europe at the moment. We're also looking for greenfield opportunities in Africa, West Asia, and in Oceania. And we're looking to target locations that provide high yield for our hotspots and devices. And we do this by leveraging our own proprietary data science platform that we are building and continue to build in-house. Thank you, Domenic.
Thanks, Andrew. And what's important, we launched this business earlier this year. In fact, it's already generating income, which is really good to see as we roll out more hotspots across the European marketplace. And feel free to visit hivello.com. And if you are interested in actually hosting a hotspot on hivello.com, you can actually apply, and then our technology will take your details and work out whether or not your location is suitable for a Hivello hotspot. Moving on to the other company within the Blockmate group, and that is Midpoint. For those of you that may not be as familiar with Midpoint as some of the existing shareholders, it's a peer-to-peer FX foreign exchange platform that really provides services to both SMEs and high net worth individuals. And the business has been running for a number of years. It actually holds and owns an FCA, UK-based payment service provider license. that can be leveraged across the blockchain space, and I'll talk more about that in a moment. And what the platform does is basically allows consumers, businesses, and SMEs to convert GBP to euro, euro to US dollars, and it handles many currencies, and it's a very, very efficient platform. What we are in the process of doing is giving it a refresh in terms of if you go to the website, it's a little bit dated. We're going to be updating the website and launching a mobile app, because as we know, a lot of people are leveraging the internet these days via their mobile phone. A few bits of value that we see within the Midpoint business is it's the FCA PSP license, and we'll be looking to extend that license across Europe also. And what it does is really helps strengthen the regulatory footprint for the entire group. And I know Justin's going to talk a bit more about the synergy across the group. And really, this will provide some of that key infrastructure around AML, KYC, and transaction reporting across the blockchain-based business. And that's really moving nicely to the next slide, and that is the OTC Desk. We've really identified a gap in the marketplace. If you're a consumer or business and you want to buy Bitcoin and you want to generate yield, you can go onto a number of websites and do that. But where we see a gap is really on what we call a white glove type service. Given that this is a fairly new market, and there are complex terms like custodial wallets, non-custodial wallets, private keys, and obviously the multitude of different blockchains and different coins, it can be quite daunting for a lot of people. And the feedback that we've had from SMEs and high net worth individuals is they actually want to talk to someone. They want to effectively be educated, and they want someone to hold their hand through that process. So what our OTC desk will do, over-the-counter desk will do, will allow individuals and companies and institutions to buy and sell crypto, an ability to generate yield, to stake certain coins as well, and all being done on a white glove type service. Obviously, there will be a website where we can leverage, and they can effectively go there and do it themselves. But once again, the gap in the marketplace is really about that personalized service. And this particular business will leverage the Midpoint fiat wallets, the FX services, the development team, as well as the licenses that I've already alluded to. So from a corporate perspective, just to take a step back, we've spoken about each of the three assets. As of today, Blockmate owns 100% of each of these particular companies. As you can see here right now, and as I mentioned, Hivello is currently revenue generating, and we are currently in the process of raising up to $5 million in order to fund the expansion of Hivello into Europe as well as Africa. And one of the comments that I know I've had from shareholders previously is, why don't we raise the money within Blockmate? The simple answer there is the valuation that we're raising at Hivello is actually much more than the actual valuation of Blockmate. So it would be too dilutive to raise it within Blockmate. And this is really a way that, once again, we can leverage our networks in the space to raise money for each of the wholly owned subsidiaries. And then at this point, we also own 100% of the OTC desk, and we're planning a launch just after the summer. And then we also own 100% of Midpoint. And as I mentioned, we're giving it a reboot in regards to a new user interface, a new mobile website on platform, and basically looking at EU licensing as well to complement the FCA UK license. In terms of the company, as mentioned, it's Blockmate Ventures, formerly Midpoint Holdings. We're currently listed on the TSX.v with our new code MATE on Frankfurt. And we've already commenced the process of an OTC listing, which would give us access to US investors. And the market cap today is about 11 million Canadian dollars, which translates to about $7.5 million US dollars for those listening in from the US. In terms of the team, we're building out, continue to build out the team. I was recently appointed as a CEO and president, and Constantine was appointed as CFO. We've also appointed Justin, and maybe this is a good time for Justin to jump in and provide a bit of background on himself, and then we can take some questions. Over to you, Justin.
Thanks, Dom. So yes, backed Dom into Banxa. Banxa, if you don't know, $1.2 billion worth of transactions gone through in the last 12 months, which Andrew and Dom co-founded, really establishing them as pioneers in the crypto space, which has been a privilege for me to back their subsequent ventures, from Apollo Capital in funds management to crypto social with Earnity, and now rather than Domenic continuing to found these businesses through his own vehicle, he's very strategically partnered with the Midpoint structure to leverage off Midpoint's licenses, a presence in the UK and Europe in payments. And so Domenic's scale is going to be able to add value to the Midpoint business, as well as launch the best blockchain businesses we can find. And through Domenic's ecosystem with those companies we mentioned, there's consistent deal flow. For example, Banxa's just opened up their system to the world of Web3 on a self-serve basis, and therefore Banxa's got high quality access to deal flow and to an awareness as to which projects are going to take off. So for a market cap of this slide's a day out of date, so that the share price is 16 cents. That's a market cap of just over $10 million to get access to the existing business Midpoint, to where we're at with Hivello, the potential of OTC Desk, and the everything that the ecosystem that has just joined Midpoint is very exciting. By way of background from my perspective, as it says there, started as a CA with Arthur Andersen and have been advising startups for the last 20 years. Moved to Toronto 2 years ago, and that's been helpful given that these, whether it's Banxa or Blockmate, is listed on the Toronto Venture Exchange, and looking forward to getting further entrenched with Blockmate. Back to you, Dom.
Justin, thank you. Thanks for that, and great to have you on board. And then sort of following that, in terms of the remainder of the board, we have David, Anthony, Corbin, and Dr. George as chair and non-exec directors as part of the team. So I guess we're really, without further ado, this is now a good time to take some questions. We'll do our best to answer those questions as best we can. John asks, can you please speak to the marketing plan around growing the revenue at Midpoint? John, I don't think we're going to I'm just going to talk about the marketing plan at Midpoint, but really, what is our strategy? Building a great product is one thing, but telling the rest of the world about it, in my view, is another. And in fact, you could argue is even more important than actually having a really good product. And this is really about tapping into the 20 plus years of experience that I personally had and networks that I've got in the digital media marketing space. And just to give you a real life example, we started Hivello at the start of the year. It's now generating income, and the only reason it's generating income is because we're placing hotspots into specific consumer homes and into businesses. In order to attract those consumers and those businesses, we need to effectively market. We need to generate leads. And then obviously our platform will take those leads and qualify and pre-qualify them before they get approved for a particular product. And so what we're doing there is we're using platforms like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, Google AdWords, YouTube, and other platforms in order to build the message. And I know, John, you've been a long-term shareholder of the company and also involved prior to that. And one of the things that I'd certainly like to bring from a value perspective to the Midpoint business specifically is the experience around customer acquisition and marketing. But before we do that with Midpoint, I think the first thing to do, there's no point doing marketing and bringing people to a website that's, you could argue, is a little bit outdated. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to give it a fresh coat of paint. We need to create a mobile version of the website, because we know that much more than 50% of the traffic these days is actually mobile related as opposed to web related. So that's kind of one of the initiatives. Stefan asks, when are you expecting Hivello to break even? Same question for Midpoint. The answer is I'm not really in a position to make any predictions with regards to when it will break even. Right now, Hivello specifically is in growth mode. That's why we're raising some external capital in order to be able to continue funding the growth across Europe, as well as Asia and Africa and a number of other markets. And so part of that strategy will be to grow dependent upon the balance sheet that we have. In regards to Midpoint, as you've seen from some of the prior numbers coming out of Midpoint, that business is generating £25,000 a month of revenue, of net revenue. And it actually won't take that much growth in the net revenue for that business to actually start making money. And taking the experience from Banxa and Midpoint and really fintech type companies, there's what you call a high degree of leverage. Whether you're doing 10 million of transaction volume or 100 million or $1 billion, typically you'd want the technology to do the heavy lifting when it comes to that. So there's a high degree of leverage in each of those particular models. We've also got Stefan asks, with your growth strategy, do you see a need for consolidation of share structures in the future? The answer is no. How many shares does management own, et cetera, et cetera? So let's call it the group that came in. We own roughly just over 10% of the company, and we've got 20 million performance rights based upon hitting a number of hurdles, which I'm not going to get into. You can very easily read those prior announcements. And Anon asks, I have not seen any detail in terms of the insertion of the two businesses in Midpoint. Can you send such details to shareholders? Anon, that's why we're running this webinar, in order to really communicate the story, the vision, and what we're doing to with regards to the business to shareholders. I would encourage shareholders to register their email at blockmate.com. That way we can keep you updated with with future news. John asks, are you planning on a raise with Mate above and beyond Hivello? I think as a growing organization, one always needs to look at and consider all options. Right now, the focus today is on raising money within Hivello. And as I mentioned earlier, the strategy of setting up and building out these new companies. And the objective is to build and launch 2 to 3 new companies a year. We'll seed them up to a certain point and then raise capital at a certain point in time. And so now Hivello started at the start of the year. We're now early June. We've now started that process. I'd expect us to have some capital raised over the next 60 days. And the rationale of doing it this way, it means that A, it reduces dilution for Blockmate shareholders. And at the same time, we also know that there are inefficiencies in both the public and the private markets. And what we've seen over the last couple of years, and particularly in this blockchain space, is that valuations in the private space are 3, 4, 5x more than the public company space. So it makes absolute sense for us to want to raise money in Hivello. And as I mentioned, it has a valuation. It will have a valuation post capital raise of, I'm not going to tell you exactly how much until it's done, because I don't want to bring anyone over the wall, as they say. But basically, we'll have a market cap more than the current market cap of Blockmate. So I think that's really the questions, unless there's any other questions that come through in the next 30 or so seconds. I'd like to thank investors for their time in terms of participating. We're obviously reachable and contactable, whether it's via Twitter or via email or just visiting the Blockmate website. And just really in summary, if you as an investor are looking for exposure to blockchain and crypto and new type of projects, Blockmate really allows and gives you exposure without you having to be an angel investor and try and pick, what are the companies to invest into. You can really tap into the brains trust, the 50, 60 years of knowledge that we have around the table, specifically around crypto and blockchain. And in my view, long term, I think it's a real good way of building the company and ultimately building shareholder value. So I'd like to thank everyone for their time. Actually, we've maybe no, we don't actually have any other questions. I'd like to thank everyone for their time, and we will be making this available on YouTube very soon. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day.
Thank you.